All right, everyone. Welcome into the TexAgs postgame wrap brought to you by Alpha Paving, where A&M wins 34-24. Alpha Paving was an award-winning paving contractor, serving Texas, ready to deliver excellent customer service, meticulous project management, and quality workmanship. They've got projects in retail, office, multifamily, industrial, notable clients like the Dallas Cowboys, HEB, Greystar. Visit them at alphapaving.com and let them get to work for you. So I'm going to start things off like this. I will never apologize for winning on the road in the SEC, especially this season of the SEC. Sure, the game wasn't as pretty as I wanted it to be, but a win. They are, 4-0 in the SEC, and they are 6-1 on the season, talking about the Aggies, a game where it was not easy, but they found the way to get it done, and it really never felt like it was going to get out of control. 68 yards for Mississippi State in the second half of total offense. They figured it out certainly in the second half when it comes to defense. Let's talk to our panel here. Brandon Leone, somewhere really, really nice. Chris Harrington, somewhere really, really nice. CT, somewhere really, really nice. And we'll start things off with CT. Your thoughts on how today transpired?
I think for me, I wanted to see, Elko's first, bye week, coming off the bye week, how the team would be, how they would perform coming out. And for the most part, like you said, you get a win on the road. Starkville hadn't been traditionally a place that we've seen a lot of success. But anytime that you get a win, that's a great thing. So, we could nitpick and point out a lot of different things. I thought there were a lot of positives as well. 9 of 14 on third down. Just being able to extend drives and being able to go down the field and be able to put the ball in the end zone. We didn't see the big explosive, plays and Le'Veon wasn't able to break off that big chunk unless it was called back. But I thought we did enough on the ground to be able to keep Mississippi State honest. Connor, not his best effort, but he made those timely plays to get us in position to be able to extend drives and be able to score points. And so not our best effort by any stretch, but again, you're 6-1 overall, 4-0 in the SEC. You're giving yourself an opportunity to be in the conversation at the end of the season, and I think that's the most important thing. So you go on the road, hostile environment, you get a win. Hey, can't be mad about that.
Chris Harrington, your thoughts on how the Aggies, they win by double digits, but a game that felt like they should have knocked them out earlier. Mississippi State's got something on offense, man.
Well, definitely at the quarterback position. He's a young, up-and-coming quarterback, the Mississippi State guy. So we'd be looking out for him in years to come. But that wasn't a great Mississippi State team. We shot ourselves in the foot. The refs, it was a horrendously called game. As far as I talk about identity of this team, I think we gave up too many big runs in the first half. Elko was not happy about that. You could hear it when they were going into halftime. They made some adjustments. They came out, did a great job in the second half on defense, being more aggressive. It was a bend but don't break. I was a little disappointed to see, some of the explosive plays, and then us getting away from the running game. That's been our bread and butter. Le'Veon toting the ball. Looks like we had a couple guys banged up. Le'Veon being one of them. It seemed like he was a little limping a few times. But glad to get out of Starksville with a win. Concerned a little bit about some of the injuries. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But glad to have the game over with and have that win behind us.
I want to correct something. The stats have now adjusted. Second half, A&M gave up 94 yards, not 68. Initially, I had it at 68, but they have adjusted it to 94 yards. Leone, your thoughts on this closer game? But when you go to Starkville, something is always crazy there.
Yeah, think about it. You look at our history in the past few years on winning games on the road in the SEC, and y'all all mentioned it, but Starkville certainly hasn't been kind to us. And so number one thing was just getting out of there with a win. I don't think that we played our best game. I think it's not too often that you win the game, especially on the road, when you lose the turnover battle. And, I think 15 made some throws today that he's obviously going to, wish he had back. And really, I think the game was getting to a place where it looked like it was going to get out of reach. And then, he threw that pick down there in our own red zone. But for me, I think the positives, I'm sure we'll touch more on the negatives, but one of the things I agree with Chris, I think they struggled adjusting to that tempo early in the first half and gave up some more explosive plays. I think they were almost to 90 yards rushing in the first quarter, which is something we haven't done. But I do want to say, credit to the defense in the second half for coming out and shutting them down completely. I mean, the only time we gave them anything was when we gave them a short field after a turnover. And so positive, again, double-digit tackles for loss from the defense, 2 sacks. But, man, the thing I think that I take away from today is what was so encouraging about the Missouri game. What was so encouraging? Hope they're okay, man. Looks like one of his kiddos got hurt. That's no good. One of the things that was encouraging to me was where was I at? I'm sorry.
The encouraging signs.
What was I saying?
Encouraging signs from the game. Some of the encouraging
signs from the game. The fact that we adjusted in the second half. Jabri Barber had a big game. I think the fact that we continue to get behind the line of scrimmage on the defense, we're putting them behind the chains on defense. That was big time. And then I think Scooby Williams, man, what a heck of a game for him, and Albert Regis. Those 2 guys jumped off the tape for me today, and it's cool to see each week that we're seeing new players. I think you're starting to see a lot of different guys step up. So, what I was going to say is the thing that was encouraging in Mizzou was we put our foot on their throat when we had them in a position to finish the game. And today, whether it was penalties or a turnover, it seemed like we just kept letting them hang around. And I know everybody had that feeling like, oh, gosh, this place, Starkville, get us out of there. But credit to the team, they kept battling. We got out of there with a win, and we can focus on next week. We got a tough one ahead.
Yeah. Hey, CT, look, I'm going to be optimistic guy because I got in trouble for being too pessimistic after the Arkansas win. And this is how I feel. I think they lose this game in years past. That's the difference with this team, right? Yes, it was uncomfortable, and Mississippi State was close, but they didn't find ways to lose this game. They found ways to win this game. Just the score wasn't crazy.
Yeah, I thought, after halftime, that defensive line, man, they got after the quarterback. And, you look at just being gashed in the first half, giving up the runs and stuff that we did. This team went in and made adjustments. I mean, this is the game is a game of adjustments. And for us to be able to go in, and it wasn't, and Leone, you hit it on the head. I thought Regis, I thought Scooby Williams, I thought they played lights out. But then you had guys like Howell and Kennedy. They made big contributions. I thought Torian York had a really good game today. He was all over the place and making tackles. And so just being able to have that depth. Now, I am a little concerned about the injuries that, we did. The guys getting nicked up and banged up a little bit. And that's a little bit concerning going into a game like we have next week. But it is very encouraging to see those younger guys be able to get in there and not, us not really drop off, still being able to create pressure, still being able to bat balls down. I think we had 10 batted passes today. That's crazy. So guys understanding, not being able to get to the quarterback, get your hands up, try to affect the throw. And, it was one of those games that in years past we've struggled with, especially in Starkville with a team like Mississippi State, just scrappy, never quits, kind of, goes to what their head coach is like. And, to be able to go in to finish the game, win by double digits, it is encouraging. We're starting to learn how to win those tough road games in the SEC on the road against a team that we should dominate, but they hang around. So kudos to Elko to be able to get those guys in position, to get them back focused like they need to. We just got to have faster starts as we move through the rest of the conference.
So A&M had 9 pass breakups, so almost 10. I think they didn't count one of them. So 9, that's fantastic. Brandon, look, I'm not going to be referee guy here, okay? Because A&M made enough mistakes that they, there could have been a couple pick sixes in this game, right? So, and it wasn't. But I did think it was interesting. Some of the penalties were like momentum killers. They always are, right? But like Moss would have had 100 yards easily if those penalties aren't called back. There were several, like, which was it defensively? I think Cassius Howell got one that I thought was a little ridiculous. So several ridiculous calls. I'm not blaming it on the referees, but sometimes those lead to real bad things, and they didn't lead to real bad things here.
No, and again, I think that's what we were talking about. I mean, we typically would have gone downhill and started to spiral the wrong direction in momentum changing calls like that. But for the most part today, not every time, But even on that one where Cash just got called for the hold, he didn't barely touch the guy. It should have been 3rd and 34. Defense was resilient, still stayed in there. We got to stop. We forced them to punt. In the first half when we had one, I think it was a first down. We were down on like the 9 or 10 yard line. I could be wrong. Don't check me on that. But then we called a great screenplay to Mari Daniels on 3rd and 12 and converted a first down. So we were converting when our backs were against the wall. We were behind the chains and we stood resilient. Another thing is, yes, Nuno, I agree. It was pretty bad today. I try not to ever talk about officiating, and we won, so there's no reason. But man, there was about 3 to 4 momentum changing plays that were brutal. But I'll tell you another example to me of growth. Listen, we all know there are some things today that were frustrating. When they had that big explosive play and the receiver caught the ball down there on the 5 yard line, man, defense stands up, gets a stop, and holds them to a field goal. I mean, years past, that's running back right up the middle for a touchdown, and their just momentum is off the charts. Well, we held strong and held them to a field goal. And so we were resilient today. But I think the thing we're all looking to see more consistency of, and I know Coach Elko and the staff are looking at, we had so many opportunities. Again, officiating hurt us a few times, but so many opportunities to put them away and make the game unreachable for them. But they just we kept doing things or giving up plays that were frustrating. I know that last drive, Nuno, going into halftime, it looked like we were kind of chilling. I know they're going to be frustrated about that because we could have had a 2-possession lead coming out, getting the ball. Instead, we put it within 1 possession. And so there were it was so up and down, so many different up and down emotions. And it seemed like the game was 12 hours long. But ultimately, man, we won another SEC road game. This same Mississippi State team that everyone's talking about lost by 10 in Athens last week. All right, with a freshman quarterback. So he's more comfortable with the system. We go into Starkville and win by 10. And so, like you said, David, the SEC is crazy this year. We found a way to get a win. And although there's a lot of things that were frustrating, I'm very excited that they fought and we got a good win.
CT, let's assess Connor's play here because I'm seeing a lot of comments on the chat about, him resorting back to what we saw against Notre Dame. This was not that. When he made bad decisions, bad things happen. But I think, and tell me if I'm overrating his performance, he had almost a couple pick sixes. He had the one at the end, and he had the overthrow of Noah. No doubt those plays we want back, and that's too many. But on third downs, he was locked in for the most part. I mean, they had 2 20-plus yard third down conversions. I mean, so there was some really good and some questionable throws.
Yeah, I think you said it best. I mean, it was a tale of 2 different quarterbacks. You have the Jekyll and Hyde, and so you look at him, and I think on the throws, and I mean even on the replay when they showed the overthrow, I believe it was to Watson, the first interception he threw. I think the ball just got away from him, and he was going to the right place with the football. He just didn't make the throw. He didn't execute the throw. Now the interception to Noah. We all know playing the game and watching the game, you can't throw late over the middle and expect to get away with it. Now, he was just late to Noah. If he goes to him right now, that's a completion for 6 yards, but he goes back to him late. So those are the decisions that he has to clean up. Those are the things that, he's got to get out of his head. Now, what was encouraging that when he threw the interceptions, he goes to the sidelines. He's working on picking his teammates up. Hey, that's on me. I made the mistake. And you see his teammates doing the same thing to him. So that is encouraging to see. He's not going into a shell and sitting off by himself. And so, for all intents and purposes, Connor's still a young quarterback. He's only started a handful of games. He's missed games this year. He's still getting back in and finding his rhythm. So he's going to make some mistakes. It just, what I think in those sudden change moments, I think our defense has played well, over the course of the season. We did give up the touchdown there on third down after the interception, but it's just Connor's still a young player. He's going to make those mistakes, but then you also see the good things that he's doing as well. I mean, third down, 9 of 14 on third down. I know it's not all passing, but he made good decisions. He got the ball to the right player in the right time and gave him an opportunity to make plays. So you're going to get some of the bad, but you're going to get some really good. And, hopefully the good is going to outweigh the bad, and he's going to play better and better and better as the season goes. So he's got a big test this next week. I think you'll see him locked in. He's going to be at home. It's always easier to play play better at home rather than, being on the road. So hopefully we see the good Connor that we saw in Missouri, carving the defense up, making good decisions, and making sure that he takes care of the football.
Leone, defense, 11 tackles for loss. for a total of negative 44 yards for Mississippi State. The defense, even when they're not getting sacks, and oh, by the way, they got sacks. Even when they're not getting sacks, they're finding ways to blow up plays in the backfield.
Man, they're playing with a relentless effort. I know that first half, we gave up some more explosive plays than normal, but this was the first true tempo offense we've seen. That quarterback is getting comfortable. I think he has a very bright future. I don't think anyone can deny that kid's going to be a great player. But man, they adjusted and they flew around the football. I mean, there was a lot of gang tackling going on, a lot of deflected passes. We did create a turnover. We hit the quarterback a ton. And when you're getting behind the line of scrimmage that many plays, it's a testament, to the game that was called and effort, man, just continually to keep after the passer and to keep after the running back. And man, I've been so impressed by them. I do think our test is going to be a lot more next week as far as overall talent on the line of scrimmage at the skill position and even quarterback, but we're going to be in Kyle Field. And so that gives us, I think, a leg up there. But I'm so impressed by them, man. Like we said, Scooby Williams, Albert Regis, Torian York, these guys are coming along. Shamar and Nick Scorton were who we thought they were, man. I mean, those guys are just dogs. They play great football. I think Will Lee had a great game. He gave up a couple passes, but nothing crazy deep. State kept the guys in front of him. So I feel great about the defense. Secondary, I still think they're getting comfortable with it, but you can't be anything but proud of how they played, especially how they adjusted and how they bowed their necks when they were pinned against the wall today. So I'm excited about them, and I think they're going to continue to improve under Coach Elko.
It is the TexAgs postgame wrap. CT, let's talk a little bit of Jabri Barber. Didn't do much in the second half, but how amazing was he in the first half, especially on third down conversions. But when they needed a big play, he gave it to them.
David, repeat that one more time for me.
Jabri Barber, how big was he, especially in the first half?
You said big play? Say it again, Brandon.
Jabri Barber.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is a blast. I mean, with, he came out and Connor looked to him, got him engaged. And as a receiver, those are the things that gets you comfortable. As a receiver, you want to come out, get the ball into my hands early. Let me get into the flow of the game. And I thought they did that with Barber. He was able to make some plays. I think he converted a couple third downs. And once he got in that rhythm, you saw him make the big explosive play down the field in the first half. Those are the things that have to happen. And we've got to keep building as a receiver core. Then you see 9, he gets involved. 3 gets involved and catches a touchdown. Watson, he gets involved down the sideline, hurdling tacklers and things. And so, you see success and you see openings and you see guys be able to make plays against that defense. It gives other guys confidence, in the quarterback. If I can throw it to you and you're going to catch it, I'm going to keep coming back to you. I'm going to keep making those throws. I'm going to keep calling your number and giving you opportunities to make plays. And so, it is a big thing when you see one guy having success. I think all the other guys feed off of it and they're able to start building as an offense. So, those guys, I know we've ridiculed them early in the season, not being able to get free, not being able to get off press and create separation. Now you're starting to see some of those guys be able to get into space, be able to make plays, not just catch the ball and get tackled, but now we're seeing guys make plays by catching the football, making a guy miss, getting down the field and making those explosive plays. And so next week, man, we're going to need it because I can tell you, defense is going to be tested. They come in, they bring a solid nucleus, but I think that we have the weapons to be able to compete and can be able to win that football game. So it was good to see Barber have that day. Who's going to be that guy that steps up next week?
All right, Brandon, why don't you close us out? I know there's some issues back there. Let's close it out with this. Just when you look at the way this defense is playing and even some of the issues that they had today against Mississippi State early on, they fixed those. How does that translate next week against LSU?
We've broken up a little bit, but I think you were talking about how the defense's success today will translate into next week versus LSU. I think really we're going to have a huge leg up in the sense that the crowd noise is going to affect the game. And so if we can continue to get them behind the chains early, keep the crowd in the game, keep pressure on the quarterback, make him uncomfortable, hit him as many times as we have, I think we're going to really affect the game. And I think, we've been playing, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like we've been physical We've been physical when guys are coming across the field. We've been physical tackling. I think as long as we keep roughing these guys up, making them uncomfortable, make the receivers and the tight ends think about it before they catch it, and make that quarterback, it's nothing like when you hit a quarterback 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games or times in a game. I promise you, when he's in his drop backs, if they're not calling quick game, he's thinking about the pressure that's getting to him. And so hopefully Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, and Nick Scorton are all healthy. And, man, I will tell you this. I have loved the way that they've used Kennedy and Cassius Howell. How about Cassius Howell running downfield 20 yards and deflecting a pass, that could have been a reception. So we're mixing it up. We're giving them a ton of different looks. And I know that Elko and the defensive staff are going to be cooking up something special for them. And if Connor can continue to just settle down and make good throws, we take care of the football and don't lose the turnover battle. I feel really good about the game next week. One thing I will say, he did make some really good throws that were not caught today too. So it goes both ways, right? The criticism and then the drops that were affecting the game as well. So I'm ready for next week.
All right, Brandon and CT, thank you very much. That's going to do it for our TexAgs post-game wrap. A&M does win it 34-24 in Starkville. Let's not forget, before this game, they were 2-6 going to Starkville. So we'll take a victory any way we can. We've seen this team as a top 10 team lose there before. We've seen this team lose too many times to Starkville. That's going to do it. We will be back tomorrow with the Luchador podcast, probably a little bit later in the day. And then, of course, TexAgs Live on Monday morning. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you to Alpha Paving.